Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into some material that's less about the tech specs and maybe more about the vision. A vision that honestly sounds pretty grand, almost touching on destiny. We're analyzing the foundational source material around what's being called the soon-coming global launch of Ashmufora's new technology, which, it's implied, is all part of the larger on-and-passive ecosystem.
Precisely. And the sources we're looking at, well, they're intensely promotional. Highly visionary, I'd say, steeped in this language of fate, transformation. So our mission today is pretty crucial. We need to look past that inspirational language, that rhetoric, and really extract the hard claims. What specific features are they actually promising? What's this unique community structure they talk about? And what core philosophical shifts are supposedly driving this whole thing? That's our shortcut, really, to understanding what they claim they're building.
Yeah, that framing is essential because the claims here are, well, they're extraordinary, aren't they? The sources don't just say product release. They call it a world event, even a divine unfolding of a dream. I mean, that sets the expectation bar incredibly high.
It does. When you start describing a tech platform in spiritual terms, the designers aren't just aiming for market share. They're shooting for a total paradigm shift.
Right.
And what's fascinating, you see it right away in the sources, is this tension they set up between the current digital order, which they often frame as extractive, and this new system. So we really need to frame our discussion around discerning the claims and, maybe more importantly, the intentions presented in these foundational documents.
Okay.
The defining shift they promise.
Yeah.
Moving away from that profit-first paradigm, the system is explicitly designed, they say, to prioritize empowerment and fairness. And that philosophical reversal right there, that's the immediate challenge they're throwing down to the whole tech industry.
And that's why this deep dive matters to you, the listener. Whether you're approaching this as a true believer or maybe a careful skeptic, or maybe you're just trying to understand these huge shifts happening in the global digital space, we're here to extract the specific blueprint that's being laid out. We want to know how they actually plan to pull off what sounds like a digital reformation. We're trying to move beyond the hype, and analyze the structure of this claimed revolution.
Exactly. We're examining the narrative that defines what the system believes it is, and then we'll look at the technical pillars needed to actually support such a monumental belief system.
Right. Let's start with the core philosophy then, and the central figure driving it, Ashmufara. He's introduced in the sources not just as, like, a CEO or lead developer, but as a symbol of hope, empowerment, and transformation. That's quite an elevation, isn't it? It intentionally links his personal vision directly to the perceived destiny of the system itself.
Yeah, that elevation is definitely a deliberate rhetorical strategy. It works to solidify the mission, which, as you said, is explicitly positioned against what they see as the failings of current tech structures. The core goal is stated really clearly: to empower people before profit and to bring fairness where greed once ruled. Now, for us, analyzing this, it raises immediate critical questions, particularly about the business model, right?
Right, yeah. If the mission is truly empowerment before profit, how does a massive global infrastructure like this even sustain itself? I mean, in traditional tech, profit is the fuel. It drives scaling, innovation. If profit is secondary, what mechanism actually drives the engine here? Is that clear?
Well, that's the core tension we have to keep analyzing. If the system really isn't selling user data or just relying on ads, the usual drivers they associate with greed, then it suggests or implies a very tightly controlled, maybe equitable monetization structure. It could involve, say, extremely low transaction fees, or perhaps a utility-style subscription for access to premium tools. Or maybe, and this is interesting, a model where the sheer scale itself generates efficiency savings that are then passed back to the users. That would be the embodiment of fairness, wouldn't it?
Passing savings back. Okay.
The claim, essentially, is that the design itself eliminates the incentive for predatory monetization.
Okay, that's a bold claim, and it leads right into this other concept they use, this technology with a soul. It sounds almost poetic. It's not just code. It's described as software with a soul, guided by compassion, intelligence, and vision. Now, is this just fluffy language? Or does it suggest something deeper, like maybe an AI system where ethical guardrails are literally baked into the algorithms?
It seems to suggest the latter. Like principles of fairness, maybe distributive justice, are part of the core logic, overriding purely profit-maximizing outcomes.
That was a massive conceptual claim, isn't it? Linking ethics directly to the machine code.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the sources synthesize this by saying the technology is built to complete the missing connection between people and progress. Think about that for a second. Historically, tech progress often leads to more centralization, right? data monopolies, wealth disparity.
Sure.
This system claims to reverse that. It strives to restore balance, provide opportunities, and specifically mentions every dreamer, every small business owner, every student, every visionary. It's framing itself as this promise of universal, equitable access to digital prosperity, all mediated by this compassionate AI they describe. So the digital paradigm shift they talk about, it's really an anti-monopoly claim, but powered by AI. They say technology often divides us, walled gardens, information gaps, but this new system will unite. And the explicit goal is putting control back into the hands of the people. Okay, but what does control tangibly mean here? We're talking self-sovereign identity, decentralized data ownership, or just really strong consumer protection policies.
Given the later focus on security and transparency in the sources, control probably encompasses all of that. But I'd guess particularly financial and data sovereignty. It means the user dictates how, when, and if their data is used, not the platform dictating terms to them. It claims to be building a platform that serves the user's progress, not just the platform's bottom line. And that's how it supposedly fosters unity instead of competition over resources.
What's also fascinating, I think, is how the source material handles the community's anticipation. That's always tricky with big launches, isn't it? The waiting. It addresses that tension by reframing the current stage. What outsiders might just call delays, they call it the sacred silence before every great symphony.
Yes, and that use of spiritual, poetic language is very strategic. The silence, it's explicitly stated, is preparation, not delay.
Yeah.
It elevates the mundane, the painstaking work of final system checks, stress testing, elevates it into this necessary, almost destined period of unfolding. The idea is the immense scale of the change requires this period of refinement before the music can begin. It's basically a mechanism for maintaining community patience, right? By connecting the whole process to destiny itself.
It certainly makes the preparation phase feel weightier, more significant. It frames the launch as this historical necessity that just has to be executed perfectly,
Right.
which in turn justifies the time taken to meet this self-imposed goal of perfection and comprehensive global readiness.
Precisely. It manages expectations while reinforcing the grand narrative.
Okay, let's transition now from the philosophy of destiny to the harder technological claims, starting with the foundation, trust. The source material is really adamant about this. Privacy and security aren't afterthoughts. They are the foundation. It claims next-generation AI and encryption will protect user data, identity, transactions.
And this emphasis on trust is absolutely paramount, given that the sources explicitly state users won't just transact, they will trust. Well, we have to speculate a bit on the tech needed to back that up. Next-generation encryption today, that implies something beyond just standard PLS, right? Maybe homomorphic encryption, allowing computation on encrypted data. Or advanced zero-knowledge proofs, something that verifies identity or transactions without revealing all the sensitive underlying data.
Which would mean, theoretically, the system could process payments or verify it's really you without ever fully exposing your raw data. That solves a huge problem in modern digital life, doesn't it?
It certainly claims to.
And the sources name specific components as the guardians of this digital universe. Let's dig into those guardians.
Right. There are three key pillars mentioned in the material we reviewed: O-Verify, O-Virtual, and O-Wallet.
Okay, let's start with O-Verify. Given that core promise of trust and identity protection, how would O-Verify need to function to actually meet that standard of integrity and security?
O-Verify implies an advanced authentication and integrity system. To be genuinely next-gen, it probably needs to use a mix of things, maybe cutting-edge biometrics, but likely coupled with decentralized identity tech, DD. So instead of storing your identity centrally, where it's vulnerable, O-Verify might provide you with verifiable credentials, stored securely on your device, but validated by the ecosystem. That eliminates the single point of failure. It roots integrity in the individual, which aligns perfectly with that philosophy of control back in the hands of the people.
Right, so O-Verify is guarding who you are, making sure the system knows it's the real you, but without the platform holding all the keys to your entire digital life.
Exactly. That seems to be the idea. Then you have O-Virtual. The name suggests, well, a mechanism for securing access and interaction, right? In a huge global ecosystem like this, O-Virtual could potentially function as a secure private network layer, like a virtual overlay that encapsulates all interactions within the on-passive platform.
Like a bubble.
Sort of. Think of it as a fortified digital environment, a space where users can access tools, conduct commerce, communicate, but totally isolated from external threats or maybe standard internet vulnerabilities. It's the mechanism that secures the communication channels, the workspace itself.
Okay, that makes sense. It's securing the environment where things happen. And finally, O-Wallet, the financial guardian. If integrity and transparency are supposed to be the currency of the future in this system, how does O-Wallet actually enforce that, globally and equitably?
Yeah, a wallet has to be much more than just a simple crypto wallet or fiat wallet. It needs to be, as they say, professionalized money management, but integrated seamlessly across all the applications, OShop, Odit, OConnect, everything. To ensure transparency, transactions probably need to be auditable, maybe immutable within the system, perhaps using some form of distributed ledger tech internally, who knows. And crucially, if the focus is fairness, O-Wallet must ensure minimal friction and ultra-low fees, especially for cross-border transactions. That's essential to facilitate the global commerce promised by OShop. It really becomes the load-bearing wall for financial trust in the entire ecosystem.
Got it. So these three components, O-Verify, O-Virtual, O-Wallet, they're the essential mechanisms meant to enforce that claim, that integrity and transparency are the currency of the future here. It's a shift away from the old model where you just have to trust the platform, towards a model where the technology itself is designed to enforce trust.
Precisely. That's the claim. Now, let's pivot slightly to the user experience. Ash Mufareh's stated belief here is pretty fundamental. Technology should make life easier, not harder. So the promise is simplicity. The system is claimed to be intuitive, beautiful, and intelligent.
Okay, but hold on. If the underlying tech is using decentralized identity, next-gen encryption, a secure virtual layer, that all sounds inherently complex, doesn't it? Yeah. How does a system with that much sophistication possibly maintain simplicity for a global audience, including people who aren't tech-savvy?
Right, and that's where the AI integration becomes potentially the real genius layer. The sources claim accessibility is key. They say the system welcomes both tech-savvy users and those totally new to digital tools. They're aiming to meet the user wherever they are, which means the complexity has to be completely abstracted away somehow.
The sources say the AI plays a guiding role, providing simplicity that hides its sophistication. How does an AI actually achieve that kind of effortless technology? What does that look like?
Well, it implies a highly adaptive, maybe predictive AI layer. So instead of just a static interface, imagine an AI that observes the user's needs, their skill level, the tasks they usually do, and then dynamically reconfigures the interface, hiding complex options you don't need, surfacing the relevant tools just when you do need them. Think about personalized workflow automation. The AI acts like a smart digital assistant, guiding you step by step through potentially complicated processes like setting up an online shop or configuring a global conference call.
Okay. So the core idea is true genius is not in complexity, but in clarity. The AI isn't just a tool, it's like a concierge. Yeah. Defining this as the era of effortless technology. That would be a massive leap from, the often clunky, frustrating enterprise software we see now.
It would. It suggests the technology aims to be so refined it just melts into the background, letting people focus entirely on their goals, commerce, communication, creation, without spending half their time fighting the interface.
Yeah.
And that level of abstraction is absolutely crucial for global adoption. If you're targeting students in developing nations or small business owners whose main expertise is, say, making things, not web design, the technology has to be instantly accessible, inherently forgiving. Simplicity becomes a global equalizer in that sense, which ties right back into the mission of empowerment.
Right. Okay, let's move on to the actual applications then. How this ecosystem translates into daily life. The whole system is designed, they say, for seamless functionality across communication, commerce, content creation, community engagement, the works.
Exactly. And the global ambition of the system really comes alive through these specific named components. They collectively aim to address major friction points in the current global digital economy. We're essentially looking at a complete ecosystem designed not just to compete with, but maybe even replace major platforms across different areas, all bound by those same ethical and security guarantees we just talked about.
Okay, let's detail those specific components. Analyze their intended global impact based on the source material. We've got 4 major applications highlighted in this context, right?
Right. Starting with OConnect. The claimed benefit here is enabling communities to connect with no borders. Now, that clearly implies a robust, secure, globally accessible communication platform, something challenging giants like Zoom or WebEx. But what does no borders actually mean technologically? What's needed for that?
Well, given the focus on global fairness, no borders must mean more than just being available everywhere. It surely has to include integrated, real-time, high-quality translation services, something that bridges language gaps automatically, seamlessly. And maybe, coupled with O-Verify, OConnect could allow for secure, verifiable voting or polling functions.
Right.
For communities, maybe even internal company governance. That would make community engagement far more meaningful and secure than what current social platforms offer.
Absolutely. That verification piece is key, and the integration with O-Wallet is probably crucial here too. Imagine a conference platform where presenters can instantly accept tips or donations from attendees anywhere in the world, with those ultra-low fees enforced by the system's fairness model. That transforms a simple communication tool into potentially a financial engine for communities and creators.
Okay. Next up, O-Shop. This one takes a direct shot at centralized e-commerce giants. It aims to revolutionize commerce by allowing small businesses to sell with no middlemen, creating fair business models. How does O-Shop actually eliminate the middleman? What's the mechanism?
Well, traditional e-commerce platforms act as these big marketplaces, right? And they take significant commissions, sometimes 15%, 30%, even more, plus payment processing fees. So eliminating the middleman suggests O-Shop operates differently, maybe on a decentralized peer-to-peer model, or more likely, given the unified ecosystem, maybe just a radically different fee structure, perhaps a flat minimal administrative fee. Or a model where the vast majority of the profit goes directly to the seller, leveraging O-Wallet's efficient infrastructure. It shifts the platform role from being a profit maximizer itself to just being a service provider.
That structural change is the definition of fairness in commerce, really. It would allow small businesses, artisans globally, to actually retain profitability, even on high-volume, low-margin goods, which is absolutely crucial for empowerment, especially in developing economies.
Exactly. Then we move to the creator economy with ODIT. This application is designed to facilitate earning for creators. In a world where creators struggle with fair monetization, copyright issues, algorithms changing constantly, how does ODIT ensure creators are rewarded equitably for their work and engagement?
Well, ODIT must incorporate really transparent royalty tracking and immediate payment mechanisms, right? Again, facilitated by O-Wallet. If it's genuinely next generation, maybe you could use things like tokenization or NFT concepts for content ownership, ensuring that residual income flows directly, automatically to the creator based on actual usage, downloads, engagement, cutting out the traditional publishers, the ad revenue aggregators. It's creating that immediate, equitable link between creation and compensation.
And that direct link is vital for achieving the empowerment goal in the creative field. Creators stop relying on the whims of platform algorithms, theoretically, and start earning based on verifiable usage.
Yeah, that makes sense. And finally, we circle back to O-Wallet, which sort of binds all these functions together, ensuring transactions for commerce, creator earnings, community support, all seamless and secure globally, acting as the professional money manager for the whole ecosystem.
Right. Now, let's zoom out and look at the cumulative claimed societal ripple effect of all these integrated applications. The source material makes some big claims here. It says the launch will touch nations, impacting diverse sectors: schools, hospitals, small enterprises, freelancers, content creators, even governments.
Okay, this moves the discussion beyond just market competition. It's positioning itself almost as infrastructure utility. So if OConnect is used by schools, for example, the claimed benefits of security and seamless integration could potentially slash administrative costs for schools, while providing more equitable access to students globally, bridging educational gaps, potentially.
Similarly, think about healthcare. If O-Verify provides secure identity for patient records, and O-Virtual provides a secure environment for things like remote consultations, the cost of compliance, data security for hospitals could drop significantly. That's the implication. The overall impact claimed is, yes, bridging gaps in education, reducing institutional costs, and inspiring new jobs by creating these fair, accessible systems.
And the overarching statement they use sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? The goal is to prove that technology can serve humanity, not enslave it. It positions the entire venture as fundamentally a humanitarian endeavor that happens to be wrapped in technologically refined tools.
It really forces you, the listener, to fundamentally reconsider the purpose of technology. If success here is measured by, say, the economic opportunities generated for small businesses via O-Shop or the educational access provided via OConnect, then the system must prioritize social benefit over just simple quarterly returns. That's the promise.
Okay, now what's critical to understand in this whole foundational narrative is that the technology itself is presented as inextricably linked to the community that supported its gestation period. We need to turn to the specific role designated to the founders.
Yes, this is where the story becomes intensely personal and
Yeah.
very rhetorical. It's defining the community's relationship with the venture. The founders are framed as not just early investors or users. They're described as the chosen pioneers, the ones who saw before the world saw, who believed before the world understood. They're given the status of visionaries who withstood years of anticipation.
And their role is elevated way beyond just being participants, isn't it? They're designated as the first ambassadors of the new civilization that OnPassive represents.
Yeah.
So the launch isn't just the tech debuting, it's also the founders stepping onto the global stage in this crucial ambassadorial role, tasked with explaining this new system to what will likely be a skeptical world.
It's a heavy burden, definitely. But it also provides a unique kind of social proof, doesn't it? Their mission is defined as sharing, teaching, leading, inspiring. And the core of their communication is defined explicitly as testimony. When the world asks questions about this new system, the founders' answer will carry the power of testimony. Why? Because they believed in the promise before it was visible, and they supposedly saw it come alive. Their personal belief itself is presented as primary evidence of the system's legitimacy.
And the source material really hammers this point home, stating, the founders are not followers, they are foundations. That grants them the sense of permanent, structural importance within the ecosystem's narrative. They're positioned as the initial bedrock, the first layer of trust upon which the entire global movement is meant to be built. It's a powerful rhetorical device, really, for ensuring deep community loyalty and motivation, especially during this transition phase.
Absolutely. And this entire section, you notice, is just steeped in the rhetoric of faith and victory. It constantly connects the founders' patience, the long development process, to these spiritual, fated concepts. You hear phrases like, divine timing is perfect, and the belief that when preparation meets patience, miracles unfold. This rhetoric serves a dual purpose, doesn't it? It manages the community's ongoing patience while also predefining the eventual success as an inevitability, almost preordained.
It transforms their long, probably sometimes difficult journey into this destined payoff, a payoff that's framed not just as financial but historical, a legacy. The launch is described as the fulfillment of destiny and a countdown to legacy. That kind of language fundamentally changes a commercial launch into, well, a historical moment of vindication for them.
Exactly. It makes this moment the founder's victory, proof that unity, innovation, and purpose can create miracles. The victory isn't solely framed as Mufara's or the technologies. It belongs to every single person who stayed hopeful, who stood firm, which ensures that the community's identity becomes completely aligned with the system's eventual success.
And that narrative definition is crucial, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because as the system launches, the world will inevitably try to understand how it happened and why it succeeded if it does succeed. The sources have essentially preemptively defined the answer. It happened because of unwavering faith, community belief, and the founders' perseverance against all doubt. It's a pretty airtight narrative tool against external skepticism when you think about it.
It is. It creates a very strong in-group dynamic and narrative shield. So, okay, to synthesize the core claims of this very visionary system, we're looking at a technology they claim is revolutionary, powered by purpose, guided by intelligent AI, aiming for global fairness, unparalleled security enforced by components like O-Verify, and total societal transformation via integrated apps like OShop and OConnect.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive challenge to the existing tech infrastructure, proposing complete philosophical reversal, really, where the individual's empowerment and trust are the primary design drivers, promising an era where technology is effortless and equitable for everyone.
The technical ambition alone is staggering. It requires flawless execution across so many areas: advanced encryption, AI personalization, decentralized identity, a global, low-friction financial infrastructure, all while somehow maintaining that commitment to putting people before profit. It's a tall order.
And the final message embedded in the source material, it's really a resounding call to action, isn't it? For the believers, the founders, stay ready, stay focused, stay encouraged.
Yeah.
The whole launch is framed not just as business, but as an awakening, the dawn of an age of transformation.
Right. And the source material ends with a really powerful, provocative thought. It's directed at the founders, but I think it resonates for any listener interested in the future of tech. It says, "You rise when the world needs hope the most." So, if technology truly is described here as destiny in digital form, then we have to ask, don't we? What fundamental shifts needs to occur in traditional tech development, where profit usually dictates purpose and failure is pretty common? For a vision this comprehensive, built so heavily on faith, community, and the promise of absolute fairness, for that vision to actually achieve the global society-altering success it promises?
That really is the ultimate question, isn't it? It's asked us to consider whether the system's foundational philosophy, its soul, can actually withstand the immense pressures of global scalability, regulation, competition. What does victory even look like when the mission is that expansive? When it demands not just market share, but a kind of spiritual and economic paradigm shift. It moves the definition of success way beyond simple quarterly returns and into, well, human impact.
And if, and it's a big if, but if the underlying technology is as seamless and secure as claimed, and if that commitment to radical fairness actually holds true in practice, then the success of this system, if it happens, might just force the entire industry to redefine the metrics we use to judge all future tech ventures. We'll just have to wait and see if the unfolding reality matches the destiny described in these foundational sources.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the visionary materials surrounding Ashmufuri's upcoming technology launch.
Yes, and we encourage you, our listeners, to continue exploring these implications. The implications of technology driven by such an explicit mission of purpose and destiny. What kind of success is even possible when the stated goal isn't maximum revenue, but maximum human empowerment? That conversation, I think, has really just begun.
Until next time.